As expected, America's adversaries, Russia, China, Cuba, and others are calling the U.S. bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities a blatant violation of law and international charter of the UN. On the home front, some members of Congress argue the president's military operation against Iran was grossly unconstitutional. So what's the truth here about Trump's preventative action? Joining us is constitutional law expert, Professor Emeritus at Harvard Law School, Alan Dershowitz. His latest book is The Preventative State, the challenge of preventing serious harms while preserving essential liberties. Okay, Professor Dershowitz, Chapter 5 of your book concerns preventative military actions. Was this one legal? Some countries and members of Congress say it was not.
Well, the same members of Congress didn't say anything when military action was engaged in by Democratic presidents, particularly Barack Obama engaged in massive military action. Obviously, President Clinton engaged in massive military action. We've had Democrats doing it from the beginning of our republic with Thomas Jefferson. And so it's just hypocrisy. These radical politicians, whether it be AOC or Schumer, just are a bunch of hypocrites. They only oppose it when it's a Republican. Everything is now partisan. There is almost nobody in the United States Senate or the House of Representatives that puts our country first and puts the law first. They first ask the question, is it good or bad for the Democrats? Is it good or bad for my reelection? And so don't listen to them. Listen to constitutional experts. Listen to people who will tell you that when the Constitution was written, the original draft said that Congress has the sole authority to make war. And that was changed by James Madison, saying, no, that was too restrictive of the president's power. Congress has the power to declare law. But presidents can make war if it's in the national interest, if it's necessary to defend the country. And that's been our history since the beginning of the 19th century. So it's just a bunch of hypocrisy. If you don't like the president, then his actions are unconstitutional. If you do like him, then his actions are constitutional. Just ignore all that chatter. It's just total nonsense.
In your book, you talk extensively about false and true positives. And one example concerns the decision by Great Britain not to attack Germany in the mid-1930s. And you suggest had they attacked, innocent Germans would have been killed, but World War II may have been prevented. So what about now? How do you view Trump's action against Iran?
Well, it's even better because as far as we know, no innocent civilians were killed. I have heard of no reports of innocent civilians being killed in these three bombings. And it was a clean military operation, very targeted, very specific, and very effective. Now, it may or may not have completely destroyed the Iranian nuclear capacity, but it certainly set it back a considerable period of time. That's good for the world. It's good for the United States. It's good for Israel. It's good for the Gulf states. So I think it's a win-win-win all around. And the Democrats have to stop this. First of all, you know, as a lifelong Democrat, I'm no longer a Democrat, but I was since 1960, the Democrats are shooting themselves in the foot. They're picking every issue that the Americans are opposed to. The vast majority of Americans are completely supportive of the president's actions. And then you have Chuck Schumer and AOC and others, you know, railing against it. That's going to lose them votes, and rightfully so.
And the U.S. is already undertaking preventative measures to protect military personnel in the Middle East and citizens here at home. What is the difference between prevention and preemption? And what is your advice to the president moving forward? Because this could easily move into areas where liberties and laws are broken in the name of national security and geopolitical interests.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. And when you give the government power, often they exceed that power. Preemption and prevention are very interesting concepts, and they're very interesting in the context of this case. For Israel, it was preemption, and for America, it was prevention. There was no immediate threat that Iran would use nuclear weapons against the United States. That threat was more long-term. But there was an immediate threat that possibly it could be used against Israel. So Israel had the right to take action preemptively and the United States preventively. And by the way, both countries had the right to take action reactively, because remember that Iran has killed many Americans, many Israelis, Iran in 1979 hijacked, kidnapped, took hostages of American diplomats in complete violation of all international law. And the country has the right to respond to that at a time and place of its choosing. Likewise, with Israel, Iran sent hundreds of rockets into Israel, and Israel had the right to respond. It didn't have to do it that day. It could do it as it did it last week. And so this war, both by Israel and by the United States, it's not even a war. It's just, taking military action, are completely valid under international law, under domestic law, and under all concepts of morality.
You talk about Israel's big false negative. Its decision in 2011 to release more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners in exchange for kidnapped soldier Gilad Shalit. Now, one of the freed Palestinians, of course, was Yahya Sinwar, the Hamas military leader of the October 7th massacre and kidnappings in Israel. Hindsight, I guess, is often better than foresight. So why do unfortunate decisions like that happen?
Well, they happen all the time because the world made a mistake probably 50 years ago at Munich. The world should have decided it will never negotiate with terrorists, never, under any circumstances. If a person's kidnapped, all right, that's the end of that person. Sorry, but we're not going to negotiate. We're not going to release 1,000 potential murderers in order to get back one prisoner. I think when you join the military, you understand that if you're captured, the government may not want to exchange thousands of prisoners for you. Every country has made that mistake. Anytime you negotiate with terrorists, you encourage terrorism, and it always comes back and bites you in the rear end.
Up next, more with Alan Dershowitz, protecting the home front, excessive national security responses and threats to U.S. liberties, protests, immigration, and more lawsuits than any previous president, the legal and moral challenges facing Donald Trump and the American people.